Hello, Christ the King. Bjorn here with this week's Unchoir. We're exploring music right now for Palm Sunday, which is coming up, believe it or not. It seems like it was just Christmas, right? At any rate, we have a bunch of road songs for Sunday. We are celebrating Christ on the roadway as conquering hero and also marching to his own demise, as it were. So a mixture of pain and joy and sorrow and resurrection to come. We're thinking about all the ways that we travel along the road. Maybe we're the bystanders. Maybe we are taking part in the procession. This year of COVID has certainly made us aware that we are traveling even while we are at home. We are traveling certainly through space and time, even if we think we're mostly stationary these days. We also think of those traveling around the world, refugees at our own borders and refugees all over the world, and just sort of the human migration through time and space. So with these road songs, we'll enter yet another Palm Sunday and join in another Holy Week. I'm excited to bring you a mixture of old and new. We will acclaim our gospel this week with a different acclamation. And it comes to us by the pen of a local singer, composer by the name of Brett Hessla. And I'll talk about him in a second. But the first thing I wanted to do is let the music speak for itself. And then I'll tell you a little bit about the background. The text is really simple. You don't need any hymnal for this. Jesus is coming. Pave the way with branches. Jesus is coming. Hosanna. And then the text will change a little bit. Hope for the weary. Pave the way with branches. Hope for the weary. Hosanna. And then back to Jesus is coming. You'll catch on really quickly, and I'll repeat each line twice. So I won't change the text on you when it's your turn to chime in here. So. Jesus is coming, pave the way with branches. Jesus is coming, Hosanna. Jesus is coming, pave the way with branches. Jesus is coming, Hosanna. Hope for the weary, hope for the weary, pave the way with branches. Hope for the weary, Hosanna. Jesus is coming. Jesus is coming. Pave the way with branches. Jesus is coming, Hosanna. Jesus is coming. Pave the way with branches. Jesus is coming, Hosanna. Jesus is coming, Hosanna. Really simple. It engages almost any sort of style of music that a congregation might be used to, and sort of has that sort of generic sort of world sound where you can give it a little bit of a Caribbean beat or kind of a South African choral treatment. Works well with organ and guitar and pretty much any sort of resource. So a wonderful addition to our current mix of music for Holy Week. Hello, Dan. Welcome. So that was the song Jesus is Coming. We'll hear that Sunday and sing in that. And as I said, the composer is local. Jesus is Coming was written by Brett Hessla, and I'm going to read something to you here because I found his bio online, and it's better than anything I could come up with. So, composer, song leader, Brett Hessla has been singing with groups of ordinary people for over 30 years. He is a resident of St. Paul, so very nearby us. He weaves music into everyday sort of community life. He's one of those people that has been singing in the community in large and small groups, faith-based communities for many years. In 2010, he co-founded Minnesota Community Sings, where he's been leading monthly community sings and working with other song leaders to promote community singing by ordinary people in public spaces. So some of this has been sort of crossed over to some peace and justice movements, organizations within the church, communities worshiping in different ways, especially nowadays when technology is so much more important than having a hymnal and a choir in front of us. As much as we miss those things, we're experiencing all kinds of different ways, and some of that will reinforce the sort of choir and traditional ways that we often do church music, and only reinforce those as well. So, as I said, he is a resident of St. Paul, and for over 15 years has been working with Advocating Change Together, which is an organization for song leading and collective songwriting, specifically to promote civil rights and self-advocacy for people with developmental disabilities. And he was also a member of the nationally acclaimed music group Bread for the Journey. Maybe you're aware of them. Minneapolis group that specialized in teaching songs of faith, hope, justice, and inclusion for Christian communities. Brett considers himself a singer's songwriter, not a singer-songwriter. He writes for singers. He's not necessarily writing for his own voice, but for different communities. And all of his music is meant to be sung by groups small or large, neighborhood parties, community choirs, all sorts of things, churches, schools, camps, and very memorable tunes. So that was Jesus is Coming. And next, very few Palm Sundays would feel complete to many of us without an annual revisit of A Glory, Laud, and Honor. And you may think you know this hymn, but there's always something new to discover, right? I did a little research on this hymn this week, and I learned two things. The first, I'll tell you about the text. All glory, laud, and honor. And if you happen to have a hymnal at home, it's at 344 in ELW, 344. And if you have the old green book, the LBW, it's 108, if you want to look up those texts. I knew this was written by somebody called Theodulf of Orleans, the city of Orleans in France, from which New Orleans, in our own Louisiana backdoor state down the river, takes its name. So he was a bishop of France. He lived from 760, so in the 8th century there, to 821. And he was the Bishop of Orleans. He came from probably a Spanish family originally, but was sent to France to be the bishop in that city. And if you are a history buff, you remember that after Charlemagne died, there was this whole family drama involving his 3 sons, and they all sort of partitioned his empire and were vying against one another as to who would be top dog. And the church aligned, as it were, with a lot of the politics of the day and brought into it. And of course, each individual son wanting that imprimatur and the approval of the church on his and his alone reign, as it were, was seeking to bend bishops to their will. I'm not aware of the whole politics, but Louis the Pious actually imprisoned Theodulf because he wasn't going along with his camp. And I'm not sure what the rationale was. I would like to think that Theodulf wasn't going to buy into any of the 3 sons that much if they were going to be such snots about it. But anyway, that's my take on history. But he was imprisoned. And while he was imprisoned, we actually have the year. This is one of those few hymns from the medieval period that we have big-time documentation for. The hymn was written in 837, and we know that because it was referenced in some letters between Theodulf and another bishop that has been preserved and is part of the record. Originally, this hymn had 38 stanzas. We are used to maybe 4 or 5. I've seen in some hymnals maybe 6 or 7, but certainly not all of the original 38 stanzas. And it was originally composed in Latin and had a simple refrain. So the people, even if they weren't fluent in Latin, certainly had some understanding of what the refrain at least meant and could participate in that way. So some of these stanzas have never really successfully been translated into English, And a lot of them, I don't read or write Latin. I have a very rough choral understanding of the language. A lot of them leave a bit to be desired with the imagery, but must have meant something in the day, especially to Theodulf as he was writing this in prison, and could see the processions, the church processions moving by his cell window. We usually sing this, All Glory, Laud, and Honor, as I said, on Palm Sunday, and some of the stanzas reference not only Palm Sunday, but just sort of that march through time as we approach the heavenly city. And so some of them actually would work really well at other times of the year, or for a funeral, a celebration of life, anytime we're sort of thinking, All Saints Day, anytime we're thinking about sort of our progression through time. And one of them was actually successfully translated into English and was sung into the 1600s, but was dropped from a lot of hymnals in the 1700s because it was one of those things that got joked about. It's actually quite charming if you get past sort of the language. It says, "Be thou, O Lord, the rider, and we, the little ass, that to God's holy city together we may pass." And of course, the reference to the ass is the donkey. But I find that image charming because together we're going to Jerusalem. Jesus and us together, marching down the road together. And I like that imagery, even if it's a little clunky and we can't kind of get past the humor of some of that language. But at any rate, All Glory, Laud, and Honor. And as many of us know this, I'll just bring us through two stanzas. So we'll just sing the first two stanzas. The tune was actually written by a Lutheran German cantor and pastor called Melchior Teschner, and he lived from 1584 and died in 1635. And this tune was more strongly associated and first associated with a text that would be translated into English as "Farewell, I gladly bid thee." There we go. I'm stumbling here. "Farewell, I gladly bid thee." And it was sort of the Christian soul saying, "I bid you a fond adieu, world. I am going to my eternal rest and to the city prepared for me." I did look at the text, and a lot of the language, it hasn't been used in a lot of hymnals for quite some time. I think it's still sung in Germany, though, where maybe the original German is much more poetic and meaningful. But one phrase stuck out to me, especially as we're entering into Holy Week here. So the tune, da 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 da, if you want to put that in your ear with this text. "Lord, hide my soul securely deep in thy wounded side. From every damage guard me. From every danger guard me, and to thy glory guide." Again, that sort of sense of the Christian achieving the heavenly city in the end. So originally not for this text, but quickly found a strong tradition of text and tune in the English-speaking world, and it's been successful ever since. So here we have All Glory, Laud, and Honor, 344 in ELW.
All glory, Laud, and honor to you, Redeemer King, to whom the lips of children let sweet hosannas ring. You are the King of Israel and David's royal son, now in the Lord's name coming, a King and blessed one. All glory, Lord, and honor to you, Redeemer King, to whom the lips of children let sweet hosannas ring. The company of angels are praising you on high, creation and all mortals in in chorus make reply. All glory, Lord, and honor to you, Redeemer King, to whom the lips of children let sweet hosannas ring.
Wonderful hymn there that for many, again, it wouldn't be Palm Sunday without. Our third and final road song comes to us from the African American spiritual tradition. And it's entitled Ride on Jesus Ride. And welcome, Bonnie. Ride on Jesus Ride, really great road song here that comes to us from the African American spiritual tradition. And what this is a nice pairing as well, because Marty Haugen, who we've talked about before on this series, a contemporary Minnesotan, he has put together some different and I think even more appropriate verses that goes with the strong chorus. And this is sort of a call and a refrain form. So that form lends itself to all sort of different usage and traditions and local variations of texts. And I just consider this the latest incarnation of that tradition, and us using a local text for our instance. And the simple refrain is, ride on Jesus, ride on Jesus, ride on Jesus, conquering King, ride on Jesus, ride. And it has a very simple, straightforward tune.
Ride on Jesus, ride on Jesus, ride on Jesus, conquering King, ride on Jesus, ride.
Very catchy, and great to sing with kids or actually people of any age. The text for the verses, I'll just read them to you, and so when I'm singing them, you'll have a little understanding of what I'm singing there if my diction isn't the best. Ride to set your people free, ride on Jesus, ride. Ride the road to Calvary, ride on Jesus, ride. Ride to set your people free, ride on... Oh, I'm sorry, I said that already. Ride obedient unto death, ride on Jesus, ride. Ride to break the chains of death, ride on Jesus, ride. Ride again in the hearts of us, ride on Jesus, ride. Ride again in the hands of us, ride on Jesus, ride. Now beyond all time and space, ride on Jesus, ride. Now in every land and race, ride on Jesus, ride. Again, a little bit more contemporary understanding of all the ways that Christ can come to us, right? Through the hands of others, through the hearts of others. Anytime death is defeated, anytime the chains of slavery are broken, in every time and space, in every land and race. Let's sing together, Ride on Jesus, Ride.
Ride on Jesus, ride on Jesus, ride on Jesus, conquering King, ride on Jesus, ride on Jesus, ride on Jesus, ride on Jesus, conquering King, ride on Jesus, ride to set your people free, ride on Jesus, ride the road to Calvary, ride on Jesus, ride on Jesus, conquering King, ride on Jesus, ride on Jesus, ride on Jesus, ride on Jesus, conquering King, ride on Jesus, ride obedient unto death, ride on Jesus, ride died to break the chains of death. Ride on Jesus, ride. Ride on Jesus, conquering King. Ride on Jesus, ride. Ride on Jesus, ride. Ride on Jesus, ride. Ride on Jesus, conquering King. Ride on Jesus, ride. Ride again in the hearts of us. Ride on Jesus, ride. Ride again in the hands of us. Ride on Jesus, ride. Ride on Jesus, conquering King. Ride on Jesus, ride. Ride on Jesus, ride. Ride on Jesus, ride. Ride on Jesus, conquering King. Ride on Jesus, ride. Now beyond all time and space, ride on Jesus, ride. Now in every land and race, ride on Jesus, ride. Ride on Jesus, conquering King. Ride on Jesus, ride. Ride on Jesus, ride. Ride on Jesus, ride. Ride on Jesus, conquering King. Ride on Jesus, ride.
So from those wonderful road songs to wherever your week is bringing you, ultimately, I hope, to our parking lot, where on Sunday we will be experiencing parking lot worship. Yay, after a long hiatus since early December. We haven't been able to do that. So thanks to the weather and different time and space, we get to come back together as a community. So I hope to see many of you through your car windows at church at 9:30 as usual for our Palm Sunday worship together for Christ the King. So may these road songs accompany you on your week, and I will see you in the parking lot. Peace, friends.